Hi there, welcome. I'm Lisa, I'm an artist and I make little fantasy dream worlds out of paper. I thought I would start off by giving you a little bit of a glimpse into the kind of artwork that I make. Mostly my focus is just using scissors, glue, and paper to make my art style. I'll just start at the top and go through. I usually paint a background of watercolor paper, and sometimes that inspires what the collage will be. So I see in the background I have painted yellow lines beside each other, and maybe that's what gave me the idea to continue with the lines. I love, this looks like a ladybug on the side. I usually start with a piece of watercolor and paint it with acrylic paint. And then onto that, after it's dry, cut out shapes and glue them onto that paper. And then I glue that whole thing onto, in this case, I glue them onto these wooden boxes. And for this series, I applied a resin coat over the top of them, and then I painted the sides black. You can see this sort of pebble effect. That's from the resin soaking into that paper just there. This is what was my first time using resin, this series, and this one has quite a thick layer of resin because either I kept making mistakes or it was sloped and I had to keep applying resin and sanding it down and applying more resin. So the artwork is really embedded quite deep back in that one. This is what happens when you don't choose a color palette and you just sort of throw whatever color you're looking at onto the artwork. I mean, it has a bit of a color palette. You can see I've repeated this sort of neon greenish color, the acrylic paint background, and I have it in paper here. This is one of my favorites, and this is a really good example of that marble paper that I make at the house. And you can see, often it's the marble paper that informs the color palette for the rest of the piece. So here the paper had purple and blue and red in it. And so I brought that out in the other papers. Here's a scrapbook paper with words on it. I use scrapbook paper a lot because I just love how the saturation of the color and the different thicknesses of the different papers and the different textures. For example, this one, I don't know if you can see, but this scrapbook paper has sort of a sheen on it versus this one, which is very matte and flat. And then here, this scrapbook paper is a gold vellum. This is my marble paper at the back. And you can get such beautiful scrapbook paper that has different colors and thicknesses. Here with these green flowers, I would have cut those out. And here you can see the tip of the leftover paper. So it's fun to use all parts of the paper. And here you can see the yellow is acrylic paint on the watercolor paper. And then I repeated that pattern with yellow paper on the front here. On the opposite end of the spectrum, this one is got quite a solid color palette with the teal and the yellow and the hot pink. A little bit of green in there. Again, you can see the marble paper that I made in the middle. It's fun just cutting different shapes out of the paper and gluing them on. This large piece here, I haven't applied the resin top coat onto it, and I like how it looks not having the resin coating. I do love the resin on top. I love how they shine. But what I find is that you can't really tell that they are paper. The resin sort of gets all around the edges of the paper and you can't anymore see the edge of the paper, so it almost looks like a painting. Whereas in this one that's unfinished, you see every little edge of the paper. And you know it's a paper collage, it's not an acrylic painting. You can tell that right away. And I also like the different textures of the paper, but this is not protected. So this is not a good long-term solution. Because I already glued it onto this wooden frame, I will have to apply a resin onto it or paint it with a varnish. I love the look of the raw paper. So what I've done in my more recent works now, this last year, rather than putting them on these wooden boxes, I'm framing them in a regular frame under glass. So then you can see through the glass that it is paper. And I don't know, I like that. I love how this looks, but I love seeing the paper. I often use a really sparkly or shiny or special, I call it special paper, and I add a little bit of it. These I just hang up with a thumbtack. It's so easy, I can move them around and put them in all kinds of configurations just with a thumbtack, and these are so light. So, which is another thing that's really nice about these resin covered boxes. When you're in a glass frame, they're quite a bit heavier. And I don't plan these ahead, I just sort of make them intuitively. I usually will pick a few colors and just set out to work. And again, this is a marble paper that I made. I can show you how to do that in future videos. I've been making art most of my life, and I've worked in all kinds of mediums, but I am just in love with working with paper and to do intricate work with paper. I hope you come back to this channel, and I will be sharing all kinds of things with you that will help you on your adventures in working with paper arts. So hopefully I'll see you again here. Bye.